And her name is Jeanette Hanscome.
Hanscome. Jeanette
Hanscome.
Hanscome.
Recording has started. Okay, good.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed connecting with writers groups, and I know that some of you might have been here when I spoke with this group in 2019. That was a long time ago.
Wow, yeah.
And look how far like technology. I remember at the time I had a really hard time figuring out the technology for that one. And I think I had to put something new on my phone, and that was before COVID when we all were forced to do Zoom.
Yes.
And
Uh-huh.
so it's just so nice that technology allows us to connect like this.
Yes. Now, can you hear us okay? Or can you hear my voice okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear
And
mine?
yes, nice and clear.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I'm so glad. Um, well, I want to introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I am Jeanette Hanscome, and I have been writing for last year in 2025 was the 30-year anniversary of when I went to my first writers conference. So that's how long I've been at this, and the writing world has changed so much in that time, and I've changed a lot in my writing, and I have learned a lot, and I enjoy passing what I've learned on to other people. So, and I write fiction and nonfiction. I have written devotions. I have contributed to guidepost devotionals, and written for a cozy mystery series that Guidepost published a couple of years ago, and Annie's fiction. I don't know if any of you have heard of Annie's Attic,
Oh, yeah,
but
it sounds familiar.
yeah, they publish knitting magazines and quilting. They're for quilters and knitters and crocheters. Well, for a while, and I think they still do, they started publishing fiction, cozy mystery series, and and contemporary women's fiction. And I wrote for a series that they published. It was called the Rose Cottage Book Club, and it took place in Nantucket, which was really fun because I found out that Nantucket is like the most expensive place to visit in the United States.
Uh-huh.
And so I got to go there through this book
Mm.
series. I mean, I didn't get to go there for real. I got to, see what it was like and go, wow, this is a beautiful place. I could never, ever afford to actually visit it, but I got to, watch a lot of videos about it and be part of this little world that was in
Oh,
Nantucket. So
in your
that was
research. In
through
your research for the
research.
story.
Yeah,
Ah.
it's still kind of a dream of mine to go to Nantucket one of these days. But
Mhm.
yeah, so it's just fun to see what writing can open up. And and what we are going to talk about today is something that I have learned, um, kind of the importance of just through, when you write for 30 years, there are things in your life that come up that make writing difficult. And so this is why I chose to talk to you today about writing around the limits of your life. That means
Mm.
that how do we make writing work into our life when there's something going on that is making our writing time difficult? And one of the things that makes my writing life challenging at times, this is a good segue because I always tell groups that I speak to about this, is that I am sight impaired, and I have been since I was born. And lighting is an issue for me, and we need good lighting for videos to look good. So if I squint, or if I'm looking down to read, it's because of my lifelong limitation of low vision. So, but I have also learned to write around a full-time job, raising kids. At during two different seasons, I homeschooled my kids. I had my two sons, who are adults now, are 11 and a half years apart. And I homeschooled each of them at separate times for different reasons. And so I had to learn how to make my writing work around that. And moves And back when I was still married, my husband at the time had health problems, and then going through a divorce and working through, all the trauma and grief from that, and then just things that come up in life. And now I have, a health issue that kind of zaps my energy sometimes. And so it's taught me that we all have, no matter what stage of life we're at, there's something that could hold us back from getting the writing done that we want to get done or achieving our writing goals. That they're just part of life. And not that I want to minimize that and say, well, limitations are just part of life. Life's hard. It's just a reminder that there's always something going on in our life. We can't, if we were to wait for life to be smooth, that smoothness would last about as long as it takes us to set a goal, and then something would get in our life, get in our way again. And I remember being in a writers group years ago, and I had a woman in that group who was in this perpetual cycle of waiting until she had her office set up.
Hmm.
Once I have my office set up, I'm going to write my novel. And she never had her office set up. And I remember thinking, if I waited until I had my dream office, I would never get anything done. If I waited until I didn't have to work I didn't need a day job, I would never write. And so it's just taught me, if we wait until it's like waiting for the perfect time to have a child, or the perfect time to get married, or the perfect time to, do whatever it
Perfect
is you have
thing.
in your mind. There's no perfect time. And so the life you have now, how can you fit writing into that? Because we all have something. I'm sure that we have I can't really see how many people are in this group, but there are more than 3 people in the room. So that means that there are at least 3 or 4 struggles that you could name that keep you from having consistent writing time, from feeling like you can set a target date for when you want to finish your book, or that make sitting down for long hours in front of the computer challenging, or that make it difficult for you to keep up with your friend who somehow manages to write 3,000 words per day and
That is her.
and homeschool, and also has a side job. It's just, or even just having the energy you need to focus, and to sometimes if we have something challenging going on in our life, just focusing is hard. So we all have something that could makes those things difficult. And I think another thing that I have to constantly remind myself of when I'm speaking to groups of writers who maybe haven't been doing this for 30 years is that, and so I would encourage you to keep this in mind as you're listening to me, and when you're listening to other writing teachers, is that those of us who are teaching have been doing this for a while. So it took us a while to get to a place where we could maybe write 2,000 words per day, or meet a crazy deadline even when a lot is going on. So it's like, runners, it takes a while for them to build up that stamina. They just didn't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to run a marathon. That what I'm doing now, I wasn't doing 30 years ago. I've learned these tips that I'm going to give you through a lot of trial and error, and a lot of frustration, and a lot of just what works and what doesn't work. So I want you to stop and consider. You can either write it down, or you can just think about it. Is what is the one thing in your life, you can just have it in your head as you're listening to this workshop. What is the one thing, or maybe it's more than one thing, that gets in the way of your writing? whether it's health or somebody else's health or a new physical limitation that you're maybe recovering from surgery, or taking care of an elderly parent, or you just had to go back to work full time, or you are, going through a therapy process to go deal with trauma. That can really suck up a lot of our creative energy. Or you're going through a move or a remodel or anything. There's no comparison. It's all whatever it is that is getting in your way right now. Write that down so you can keep it in mind as I give you these tips. Because the first step is that, like we said earlier, not waiting for the circumstance to change, but making your writing life work for your life right now. Because once one crisis is over, I'm sure you've learned this if you've lived for any number of years as an adult, is once one crisis is over, another tends to take its place. Yeah. Like, oh, glad
Really?
that's over. And then the next day, it's like,
What are you talking about?
I'm like, we don't have to write down the list. We got them all.
yeah. Or like, I'll ask, what's the one thing that's keeping you in your way right now? You're like, which one thing? There are 12 of them. So if you need to make a list, that is completely
the house
okay.
remodel, the
Yeah, the job, yeah.
career job, yeah,
Teenagers,
yeah,
college kids.
It's not even. We didn't even mention that, but yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I've learned is that when learning to make your writing life work for the big things that are going on in your life right now equips us for when the unexpected happens, because we have tools in place for how we're going to manage them, or at least attempt to. So the first is name and accept it. So you've already named it, because we can't come up with a solution if we haven't admitted that the struggle is real. For example, I told you that I've been visually impaired since birth. It took me until I was in my 40s to be able to admit that having limited vision actually limits me sometimes, because I grew up not wanting to use it as an excuse. You don't use it as an excuse. You figure out a way to do what you need to do. And so I wanted to be able to, you learn to keep up. You don't want to be the weakest link. And so it took me a long time to figure out why I would suddenly get these bad tension headaches or just get really exhausted, and that I needed to take visual breaks. And until I admitted that and said, you know what, this is real. This is actually the way I was made. I'm not making an excuse. This is a true thing. It's like telling someone who, has a physical disability and is confined to a wheelchair, you need to quit saying that you being in a wheelchair makes it difficult for you to reach for things. It's silly. It's I don't know why I did it to myself. I think a lot of times those of us who have have limitations that are part of their life all the time, we want to be like everyone else. We don't want to be treated differently. We don't, so it's like, oh no, this doesn't bother me. This is fine. I can make it work. Just because we can make it work doesn't mean we have to be making it work all the time.
Or that you should.
Yeah, so we can, so just admitting, okay, I do have, bright light does bother me, so I need to use a different setting on my computer. I need to take breaks. I need a large screen, things like that. That it's amazing how just admitting, yeah, this is true. So name and accept that this is what's going on right now. Like, it is hard that I'm trying to care for aging parents and support a college student at the same time. I'm just using it as an example. Or, it's this right now, my life is crazy because we're remodeling the kitchen and And I just found out I have, high blood pressure, and I have to adjust to a medication that's going to have all these side effects, things like, just saying this is the truth. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to write. It just means I have to take this into consideration. Next is assess. This means, how does this affect my life? Is this something that is permanent, or is this something that is temporary? Like if you are struggling to get your writing done with a house full of teenagers whose schedules are all over the place, and you're helping your elderly mom, and you know that your kids aren't going to be teenagers forever. Eventually they will go to college or move, and so you're like, okay, this is for a season. Is it for a season, or is this permanent? And whatever the answer is, sometimes it's just knowing what you're dealing with so that you can be realistic when you're setting goals or creating a writing schedule for the week. Or it could be that, I don't really ever know how I'm going to feel from one day to the next. So I just have to know that. And, it's just making an honest assessment of what is the situation. Or for this summer, like let's say when summer comes along, the kids are going to be out of school and we have guests coming in town. Is that a good time for me to say I'm going to finish my novel this summer? So you can be realistic. Next is to decide, how are you going to handle this? Once you've said, this is my issue, this is the scope of it and how long it's going to last, at least as far as I know. What am I going to do? You don't want to complicate it, overthink it. It just like, for example, if let's say you have a deadline, or you went to a writer's conference and you got the dream come true invitation to send a book proposal or your completed manuscript, which you need to go through and edit. You've finished the manuscript, but you need to do another pass through and do some edits on it. But you've promised this to an editor or an agent. Then that's your goal. That's the thing that you're like, I want to get this done. I have these things in my life, but I also have this commitment or this desire or this contract that I signed. I mean, even if you don't have a contract now, you could in the future. So this is a good thing to think, to consider that in the future, if you have a deadline, then you can say, okay, I need to meet this deadline. It's, in 3 months, I have to turn in 12 devotions for a guidepost devotional. But my life is a little crazy. So how am I going to get that finished? Because meeting deadlines is important. Because if we want another opportunity with that publisher or that agent, or we want to make a good impression, we need to meet our deadlines. Or if we have a personal deadline, that this project is really important to me. And the person who would appreciate it the most is her health isn't that great, she's not doing well health-wise right now, and I want her to be able to read it. So I need to finish this within 6 months or a year. So that that's going to be your priority, is that one thing. Not, I'm going to finish my novel and map out sequels, for an entire series. This is the time to focus on one thing that you're going to write. I'm going to finish this book, or I'm going to finish these devotions, or I'm going to finish 10 chapters of my memoir, or I'm going to finally outline this project, or the project that I have been overthinking and can't seem to get past the outline stage. I am going to write a first draft. Whatever your goal is, if you have something going on that's limiting your energy or limiting your time, you're going to focus on that one thing. And then your next priority as far as writing will be whatever you have time and energy for, whatever's left over. That's when you start thinking, you know what, I really want to write a sequel to this novel. So I'm going to jot these ideas down, or I'm going to, whatever it is that you have leftover time for. That's going to be your second priority. And you're going to make a plan and decide right now that when it comes to your goals or your the deadlines you're set for yourself, or the timeline you give yourself, that you're going to make a plan that works for you and your situation, not what every other writer is doing and what every writer's book that you have ever read says you need to do. One thing I know that hit me recently is how inundated writers are with, you have to do it this way, or this is what worked for me, so this is what, and there's this implication, so this is what all the writers should be doing. And when, again, it often is coming from people who took a long time to find a rhythm and to discover that that's the thing that works for them. And it might not work for you, and it might not work for everybody. So just do what works for your life. You're not accountable to the writer who has been writing for 20 years and has to write a book quickly. Sometimes I really long for the days when I didn't have to write something quickly. I could just write whatever God put in my heart. And so if you don't have to, then, do whatever is going to, the goal is to make progress. The goal is to have forward motion, not to be able to post your progress on Instagram and Facebook. Look how many words I wrote today. And I've been guilty of that. I do it. I like, look what I did. That's not the goal. The goal is to make progress, to get written what you want to put out there. And this is probably not a time to take on a whole new time management plan. I know it's the beginning of the year when all of us are, making resolutions and, goals for the year. And this isn't the time to read another time management book, or, download the latest app on, whatever the newest thing is. For a while, it was Pomodoro. You remember the Pomodoro method? Any of you heard of that? Where you sit down for 20 minutes and you write without stopping. You don't even get up to go to the bathroom. You just write for 20 minutes. And when the timer goes off, you get up for 5 minutes, and you can throw a load of laundry in, or you can go to the bathroom, or you can refill your coffee. And that worked for me for about 3 days. I was anticipating the timer. And so it didn't work for me. So this is not the time to do that. If there's already a lot going on in your life, just your job right now is just to come up with a simple plan for writing. So you're going to prioritize projects. We already talked. You're going to make a plan to determine that you're going to prioritize projects, like I just mentioned. Your first priority being whatever is due, whatever you've promised someone, whatever you're the most passionate about. And then after that, it's then whatever you have energy for, the sequel, taking notes on something that you're going to write in the future. Then you're going to create a schedule that works for your life right now. And it is okay if the schedule changes weekly. You don't have to have the same schedule every single week. That works for some people. I have found I live with my parents who are older, and just the way the family dynamic works, I can't always predict that I'm going to have 5 solid days of writing. If I have a big deadline, then I can be bold and say, I'm not going to be able to go to, get together for lunch with all my sisters this week, or I'm not going to be able to do this. I just have to. But there are times when I have to just roll with whatever happens some days. So, and I have had to learn that needs to be okay. So I schedule what I know I can stick to. So schedule what you know you can stick to. You like, if you know what, I think realistically, I can write for 3 hours on Wednesday morning. Then, or I know that I have the mental capacity for 300 words every morning. Because you can always add more. You can always say, oh, wow, look, now I have Friday afternoon off. Now I can write then too. Or wow, 300 words, I got that out really fast. I'm going to try another 200. I have more energy today than I expected to have. So I'm going to take advantage of it. Not to the point where you defeat the purpose and wear yourself out, but it's like, I could probably write a little bit more. It's easy. I found that it's better to do that, to be realistic and plan what I can stick to, than to have this grandiose plan and then feel like I failed. And I do like to use a planner. This is my favorite planner, is the Legend planner. You can either get it dated or undated, where you fill your own dates in, but it has goal setting sheets. It has a lot of space for making a weekly schedule. It comes in all kinds of colors. And so, or you might be one who likes to schedule, create a schedule on your phone or on a whiteboard, or, find some kind of scheduling tool where you can write down your writing plan for the week, and knowing it's okay if it changes every week. It's okay if, depending on if you need to rearrange it midweek, that's okay too. Again, you're not, unless you're not, this is between you and you and God and your project. And maybe like an accountability partner that you're keeping each other on your toes as far as getting something done. But no, it's okay if it changes. Use pencil. And then write during, as much as possible, plan your writing time for your most productive time. The time when your brain is the freshest, when you're least likely to get interrupted, you're least likely to get distracted, and so that you can, at least you're going to write during a time when okay, this is the time when I write the best, so I'm going to choose this time. I find that I'm not a get up at 4 o'clock in the morning girl anymore. I used to do that occasionally when I was working full time and had little kids, and I did it out of necessity, not because I'm a morning person. But and writing late at night, the only time I do that is when an idea comes and I can't get it out of my head. But really, I know that I write the best in the late morning into like mid-afternoon. And so whatever, and that doesn't mean that the morning people are better than the late night people. It's that we all have our own rhythm, and so do what works for you. Make use of some tools and technology. I keep my laptop on and my phone, any kind of technology, on dark mode. So that's with a black background and light white text, because that's what that's works best for me visually. And my last laptop that I purchased had a touch screen where I could zoom in. That was a game changer for me. I will never again buy a laptop that I can't zoom in on. And so know what works for, we can't always buy everything that's out there that would help us, but find one thing that helps you, whether it's some kind of scheduling, if you see something on your phone, you're like going, there's a calendar on my phone that I have never used. Try that, try something that, or reminders, phone reminders, writing time. This is your writing time. Something that makes, I use larger fonts, whatever I've discovered that normally sighted people enjoy large fonts. Everyone in my family uses a large print Bible because they saw mine and they were jealous. We have large print everything. Even the normally sighted people in my family use a large print Bible.
Aw.
So for you, it could be noise canceling headphones. Get a pair of noise canceling headphones, or set a reminder, or maybe you need a more ergonomically correct keyboard, or a better chair. One thing that makes your writing life easier. Next, you're going to protect the time, space, and energy that you do have. If you know that afternoons are your peak time for writing, and you only have 3 free afternoons per week, like you say, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, those are my days, then that's the time that you're going to protect. If you know that you run out of energy at 4 p.m, then you're going to protect the time earlier in the day, or you're going to really pace yourself when it comes to your energy. Like you say, you know what, I want to write tomorrow morning, and so I'm not going to wear myself out today. It's just learning how we are wired, or what our life is looking like right now, and protecting the time we do have. That means that if you plan to write on Saturday mornings, and your friend calls and says, hey, do you want to go for coffee? It's really tempting to say, yeah, I'd love to. But saying, oh, I can't, because that's the only time and I mean, I don't know what your relationships are like, or what your friendships are like, but sometimes it's wise to not tell people if that's my writing time, because not everyone understands that. For some people, that's when I scroll social media. Sorry, I can't get together with you. That's when I binge watch on Netflix. They don't take it seriously. So all you have to do is say, I'm not available then, but I can get together in the afternoon, or I can get together on Friday. It's like I can't do it then, I'm sorry, but I can do it this other time. So you're protecting they're not going to give away the 2 hours, the only 2 hours you have free to write. And that even means, trying to eliminate interruptions. I have, during the pandemic, when my younger son was doing school at home, and I was working at home, and we got these little, I don't know if these might be turned around for you, but my son says genius at work, mine says writer at work, do not disturb. And then on both of them, it says, please knock. If it's okay to interrupt, as long as you knock. Yeah. And then I found also these very handy little chalkboards on Amazon, and you get like 6 of them, and they're in different shapes. And I created this one when I had to record a workshop for a writer's conference. I have one on my door right now that says on a call, shh, do not disturb. So come up with creative ways of shutting your door, putting signs up. And I would recommend, just learning from experience, to like alternate different signs, because if you have the same sign up all the time, people stop seeing it. I joke that I don't think I'm the only visually impaired person in this family. So just find ways to eliminate to protect your time, your writing space. Find a place that's as often as possible is private, where you can shut a door, or you can maybe go to a library, someplace where you are going to be able to really focus. And then you're going to be as disciplined as possible. This means that we're not going to beat ourselves up every time something gets in the way, but that's where protecting your time comes in. That's where protecting your space comes in. That's where, if you say, I'm going to write from 9 a.m. until noon on Friday mornings, that you don't eat away that time scrolling on social media. That's when you turn off notifications on your phone. That's when you put your phone in the other room. That's when I know that, I don't know if any of you know Kathy Lipp, but she used to do these writing retreats, and she would make everyone put their laptops and their phones on airplane mode, so that you can't get to Instagram or Facebook. If you need to pop on to do something for research, you have to do it really fast. And so it's doing things like that. It's being disciplined with what you have. Because sometimes what's holding us back is lack of discipline. Sometimes that's mixed in there is, I have the time right now. I'm just choosing not to, I'm letting myself be distracted. So, and we don't want to do that anyway, but we especially don't want to do it when there's something in our life that's already complicating our writing goals. And then ask for help. This is where maybe if you have an accountability partner, a writing partner, writing prayer partner, you can say, you know what, for some reason I have these hours, but I'm having a really hard time staying on task. Now the problem is no longer my family, the problem is me. And so, so can you please pray for me? Or you have permission to ask me how it's going. And coming up with a word count goal that you're going to report to your accountability and prayer partner if you met that goal. And also, I'm a big fan of rewards. I am not a big fan of being punitive with ourselves. Saying, well, if you don't make your if I don't make my writing goal, then I can't have dessert tonight. If I meet this writing goal, I am going to watch this movie on Friday night that I've really been wanting to watch, or I'm going to buy that cool, cute writing themed mug that I have had my eye on, or I'm going to take Sunday afternoon off just to do some art, whatever it is that you're giving yourself a reward instead of punishing yourself for not doing your homework. And then you're going to adjust and start again as needed. I call this the Anne of Green Gables approach to writing life. Tomorrow is fresh, with no mistakes in it yet. So if you did not have an unproductive day, if you had an unproductive day, start again tomorrow. You can make up for it. When I've found that when I'm being disciplined and I'm really trying to get my work done, and I'm really trying, and my goal is forward progress, things get done. It's you can't always make up for what didn't get done yesterday, but you can slowly look at okay, I am 500 words behind. How can I slowly make up for that? You can't make up for it all in one day, usually. Sometimes we can, but we can't always. And sometimes the pressure will sabotage us. So just know that, okay, I have, I'm going to have to write 100 more words a day for the next few writing sessions just to catch up. Or, you know what? I think I'm going to have to start over again next week. I think next week is going to have to be a fresh week. And so whatever it is, to just kind of reboot and say, I'm going to start over again tomorrow. instead of I'm a bad writer, I should just quit. I don't have it in me right now. I'm obviously not good at this. You know, that you just say, this was not a good writing day, or this was not a good writing week. I don't know what happened, but I'm starting over. I'm starting fresh on Monday, and I'm gonna see what needs to change. Make another sign. Order another sign on Amazon with a different picture on it. So go on a writing retreat, whatever you need to do, but you're going to start, just kind of start fresh. And then know that other stuff will come up. The world doesn't stop because we have a deadline or because we have a lot of hard things going on right now. It's not like, the rest of the world doesn't check in on our schedule and what our life looks like. It's like, when I was living in Reno, Nevada, we had occasional snow days. And I am not kidding. They always hit when I had a deadline. Always. And so just knowing that that's going to happen, or if there's a crisis, it's going to happen when when I've made a big lofty goal for my writing life. So just know that things will happen, but because if you've already gotten into a habit of protecting your time and space, of setting goals according to what your life looks like right now, asking for help, I think I skipped over asking for help. Asking for help is things like talking to your spouse and saying, you know what, this is really important to me. Could we figure out a way for me to have some hours to myself, maybe on the weekend? If you have kids, could you take the kids for Saturday morning, even if it's every other week? Or could I have a writing retreat for my birthday so I could go away for a weekend and work on my book? Or asking a friend, I love you and I love when we chat, because you could wait till maybe 5 p.m. to text me, because I love talking to you and I know I'll get sucked into a conversation. So if you could wait till 6, wait till the evening,
Good idea.
that would be really helpful for me. That just asking for a little help, or even asking for, I need an updated computer. I need a new laptop that zooms in. So yeah, that I got a little. I realized that was backing up a little bit, because I realized I mentioned asking for help, but didn't really give you any ideas for how to do that. So we're back to other stuff that comes up. It is okay to take a break for a true crisis. Just know that we don't want to become the person who says, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry that you have experienced this sudden, unexpected loss, but I can't talk to you right now. I'm working on my book. It's knowing that sometimes we do need to put people first. We can, if we are in sudden excruciating pain, we're not going to say, I'm going to wait until I meet my word count for the day before I find out if I have an appendicitis attack, or if I mean, it's just, people do weird things like that, So, it is okay to take to pause for a true crisis, but sometimes we have to choose our crisis. For example, a couple of years ago, there was a wildfire that affected 2 of my best friends. And where they both had to evacuate, we were watching to make sure that Susie's and Kathy's houses did not burn down. And so for me, that was something to be really concerned about and to keep tabs on. But it wasn't something for me to stop my writing day. What didn't mean I didn't need to work. It meant I needed to care and check in. But it didn't mean that I needed to stop my writing day for it and be so distracted by it that I didn't get anything done. Now, them, on the other hand, they did need to pack up and go. That was something for them to stop their writing day for. And so it's like, it's affecting you. Or is it just something that I'm really concerned about this? I'm praying about this. I'm really worried, but I still need to get my work done. And also like a friend who just lost a loved one versus your friend who's having a bad day. The friend who's just lost a loved one, of course, you're going to stop what you're doing for that person and talk to her and be there for her. But the friend who's maybe having a hard day, it's not that you're saying that's not important, but that was when you say, I'm so sorry. I really do care about you. Can we talk this evening? Or I can't get together right now, but can we get together this afternoon? And it's where you're not blowing them off. You're not minimizing what they're going through, but you're still honoring your time, and you don't have to over-explain. It's just, I'm not available right this minute, but I will be done in an hour. And so where you're still protecting your time, but you're also honoring them. And every once in a while, we know God tells us when we need to drop what we're doing for somebody else. I remember once a friend of mine was moving, and her adult kids were not being very helpful. And I could tell she was beside herself. She was ready to tear her hair out. And I just thought, you know what? I have something that is due next week, but I think I need to help her. And right on the weekend, I need to help her. She needs help. And I was really glad I did it. And you know what? I had a really productive day the day after I helped her. And so, but we can't do that. It's listening to the Holy Spirit, listening to knowing ourselves, knowing the situation, and choosing our crisis. And then if, again, like if we have just an unproductive day, if something derails us for a while, knowing that because we're trying to be disciplined and because we're really committed to our writing, that we can make up for lost time. We just need to sometimes go back to the drawing board and come up with a new plan. Like going, you know what? I'm thinking that this book is not going to be done early. It's going to be done. I'm shooting for on time. So I have this thing about wanting to shoot for early. I shoot for early so I can be on time. So does anyone have any questions or a situation that you're dealing with that we could maybe help you? I'm not sure how much time we have, but does anyone have any? Are there any questions?
I kind of have a question.
Okay.
I was just curious. You said that you had friends that their houses were going to burn down. Were they writers too?
They were writers as well. Yeah. This was probably 2 or 3 years ago. It was Kathy Lipp and Susie Flory. They were both in the path of these big wildfires.
Wow.
And they had to pack up their stuff and leave. And both of their houses were okay.
Oh, that's
But
good.
yeah, and I do believe Kathy Lipp used that in a couple of books. A chapter I remember reading a chapter called "The Year My House Tried to Kill Me."
I appreciate you encouraging us that the Holy Spirit will, prompt us when we really need to drop what we're doing and pick up the phone, or, allow the interruption to be that interruption rather than delaying it. Because sometimes I feel guilty, like, oh, should I have picked up that phone call when this other thing was a higher priority,
Yeah.
It helps me to rest in that, and I know I can trust the Lord to be that guide.
Right. And also I've noticed sometimes it is a lot less time consuming to send a quick text and say,
Mhm.
I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you, than to be distracted by whatever it is.
Mhm.
I think
And
one of the things, go ahead.
no, go ahead. That was done.
I was just gonna say, one of the things that's really helped is for me to set priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Working my job was a big priority, but then my family, I had to set aside time for my family, and I
Mm-hmm.
could set what my priorities were and always set aside time for each one. And so there was the work, then family, then writing,
Yeah.
then friends, and other
Mm-hmm.
things, so that I could always kind of set my priorities and hold to that to keep the interruptions down.
Yeah, that is really good. That's a really good advice. And I think also when we think of our writing as a form of work, that we think of it as a side job, even if we're not getting paid yet, is
Paid?
thinking is a yeah is,
I've
is
heard about that.
thinking about this as a like a job or a passion of mine that I really want to um I really want to write a good book. I don't want to just get this, pound out a first draft. I want this to be really quality. And I remember reading a blog post by an industry professional who said that writing is the one craft where people expect to dive right in as a professional and not have to really work at it. That if you're trying to
Well,
be a professional musician, you would designate practice time.
but
If
one of the things I ran into that was a problem was that early on, my wife never saw my writing as important. And so
Mhm.
I would be sitting there writing, and she would come in, can you do this? Can you do that? And it took 3 or 4 years to finally get her to realize that I saw this as my occupation, as my
Right.
ministry. And
Mhm.
when she finally started respecting my ministry and respecting my writing, then she stopped being such an interference. And I would guarantee that let me write, 6, 7 hours a day, and I will
Mhm.
set my evenings aside to be with you and to do things. I will set aside the weekend to be with you, but you got to start thinking of my writing the way that I do.
Right. And also, I think that is a really good point, especially if you're retired and these are the hours when you used to be at work. And now you're using it for writing and you're showing her, I value you by being, when I'm with you, I will be with you. I'm not going to be with you, but with my laptop in my lap. You know, that that's a way of showing her, and I don't know what it is about writing that people have a hard time taking it seriously. I think it's because there's not a big canvas with a beautiful landscape taking shape.
Uh-huh.
They can't see it.
Yeah.
And we're in our heads all the time.
Yes.
But one of the things that was so hard was that I would do a daily blog in addition to all my writing.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife just really did not feel the blog was that important. And it took about 6 months before she started to read the blog. And once she started
Yeah,
reading the blog and seeing what I was doing, then she started respecting it and
and
saw
I
the
think
need for
that's
it.
important. Yeah, the people they're reading what you're writing, and they start seeing, oh wow, this is he's really writing something here.
Yeah. If
It's
they're
really
not
good.
reading, if they're not reading what you're writing, they're not going to be supportive. They're not going to
Right.
be
They have
there
a
to
hard
help you.
time being supportive. Yeah. I know that yeah, I had family members for a while had a really hard time supporting my they could support my writing as long as I was earning a paycheck every once in a while. But if it was just my own project, then it was very difficult. And so I think that can be the thing that's getting in our way is a person not who's not supporting us. So I think you came up with a good solution, which is that you came up with these are the hours I need. This is important to me. you give me these hours and I will give you these hours over here. You know, I promise I will be 100% present in the evening and on the weekends. Yeah, good job. Anyone else? I think I might be out of time anyway, but if you, any of you have any questions,
Sorry, we lost
feel-
Mary for a second.
okay.
You okay?
If
Yeah.
any of you have questions, you can feel free to email me at, you can, Jeanette Hanscome, my first and last name, which is right here, Jeanette Hanscome at gmail.com.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
I think one of the questions that people might have is that, how did you break into selling your work initially?
It was very slow. I started writing for, I don't know if you guys have all heard of these, but they still have them, but they were called Sunday School Take-Home Papers.
Ah,
And I would go to I went to my first writers conference and I heard about these things called Sunday School Take-Home Papers. And they were like a magazine, but they were weekly and they were handed out in Sunday school for the kids, the teenagers, and sometimes also the adults. And I was told that every issue, because there's 52 weeks in a year, they needed a article. Sometimes they needed a devotion. Sometimes they needed a short story. So they relied heavily on freelancers. So I started there. I started with magazines. There aren't a lot of magazines now. And so now I am, and several other friends of mine who are writing teachers, recommend that writers try, especially if you like to blog, maybe try Substack, set up a Substack newsletter because it's free. But then if you find out any opportunities to submit to like a Chicken Soup for the Soul book or the Upper Room devotional relies 100% on freelancers. If you go to their website, you can look at how to submit to the Upper Room magazine. They take devotions from all over the world. And so I started very small. And this was another reminder of how important relationships are. My first book contract was, I mean, this sounds like a big, like, whoa, really? My first 3 books were for Focus on the Family.
Oh.
And it happened because, and they were work for hire. So there was 2 different book series. One was 2 books for a fiction series, and one was a book for a devotional series. And they created the series, and I actually got to write books for the series. But it happened because my voice teacher, who had become a good friend, we had a mutual friend who would come to these who would go to writers' conferences every year. We realized we had a mutual friend. And I mean, she wasn't a close friend of mine, but I knew who she was. Her name was Lissa Halls Johnson. And one year, my friend Carolyn, my voice teacher, said, when you go to the conference, tell Lissa I said hello. And so I sat at Lissa Johnson's table so that I could tell her that Carolyn said hi. And she started talking about this book series where they were going to hire a freelancer. They were looking for another writer. So I went up to her afterward and I said, hi, Lissa, Carolyn says hi. And I just heard you talk about that book series. And I would love to make an appointment with you.
Oh,
So
nice.
you never know how God is going to direct your writing path. And so much of it is about relationships. It's not it's who you know thing. It's really a getting to know people. And because the Christian writing community especially is a very small world. And editors move around, agents move around. I met my agent 10 years before she signed me. And she was an author when we met. And she rejected me at least twice before I reached out with a project that she could like, oh, this is needed. So just know that a no the first time does not necessarily mean that person, it's going to be a no forever. And that's why relationships are so important. And that's why it's so important that we be kind to each other and that we're gracious when we receive a rejection, that we really watch how we respond to people online, because we just never know who's watching.
Yeah.
And who we might be an agent, might become an agent someday.
Yeah.
Now, which writers' conferences would you suggest are good writers' conferences to start attending?
Well, I have a soft spot in my heart for West Coast Christian writers because I was like I'm on the leadership team for it, and I've been on the board for West Coast Christian writers is one thing I really like about them is that there is a in-person conference and a virtual option as well. So if you can't go in person, you can actually sign up for a virtual conference. And our next one will be in November, early November. And we are now alternating between Southern California and Northern California.
Okay.
Yeah. And which other one? I used to say Mount Hermon, but that's the conference that I got my start at. And I know there is a conference that takes place at Mount Hermon, but it's no longer affiliated with Mount Hermon. And I haven't been to it, so I can't like really promote and say, oh, this is a great one, because I've never been there. But I know the people really like it. And there are Flourish. I've heard Flourish is good. They're a completely virtual conference. And then another thing that I've found really helpful is if you can find like a writing intensive or a writing seminar where you get together for like a week and you focus completely on fiction, or you have teaching in the morning and writing time in the afternoon. That can be really helpful too. So
Thank you, Jeanette. That's really good information.
You're welcome. And I know it's probably time to stop.
We actually have one quick question. So
What was your email again?
Oh yeah, sure. It's Jeanette Hanscome. So it's my first and last name. But
Okay.
I think you can see my first and last name on my little screen
Yes.
at gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. Thank
And
you.
I'm an author coach and an editor as well. So
ETTE, Jeanette.
yeah,
I'll write it down for you.
JEANETTE.
It's J, not G.
J.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, JEA.
I thought you were gonna spell email.
Yeah, Gmail. Yeah, Gmail.
Jeanette, thank you so
You're
much for
welcome.
joining us. It was so kind of you to carve out some time on your Sunday afternoon for us.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You were just really helpful to, especially at the beginning of the year, to really tackle with the issues of life.
Yes,
and how
I think
to make
January is a
writing
good time for this.
yeah, make writing a priority, and we are all writers here, so we all needed that little boot in the butt, you know.
Yeah, say, come on. Sometimes we're the problem.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and we appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful writing year, all of you.